Okay, let's get this started. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna be ranking the 23 Marvel movies, specifically the MCU, all the way from the first Iron Man to Far From Home. You'll see the common occurrence and like a theme how I rank these movies. It's basically the greater the villain, the better the movie. So if you have a superhero, there's nothing to be super against. If it's just kind of like a weak villain and they have nothing to fight against to fight for. So it's like usually the movies that don't have that good of villains, not the best movies when it's comes to comic book movies. So let's get this started. 23, my last ranked movie is Far From Home. I'm sorry to all the Spider-Man fans, but I hated this movie. It was like it just didn't make sense for most of it in terms of like too many coincidences, and Mysterio was just kind of silly, kind of weak in terms of like I don't know. I just didn't like the movie at all. I mean, it was just kind of lost my interest a bunch of times. You know, Tom Holland and Zendaya, their romantic relationship in this movie is like, of course. I mean, I know the whole MJ thing and Peter, but like, I'm just kind of over the whole romantic relationships in these movies, and yeah, it was just like the scene in the Tower Bridge. There was just no cameras, so when Mysterio sent out that public service announcement that Spider-Man's a murderer and all that. It's like there wasn't any cameras to see that he was lying. It's like it just didn't make sense to me, and especially being that it was the 21st century, it just didn't add up to me. But what are you gonna do? So yeah, 22nd movie is Thor: The Dark World. This movie gets a lot of bad rap, and I understand it. It's kind of like mediocre, and Malekith, the villain, just doesn't make sense. And when he touchdowns on Earth, the Avengers aren't there, and it just doesn't make sense in that terms of that. And I think it's just overall weak writing and whatnot. But I mean, it is fun to see Loki and Thor's banner still going on. I mean, in every movie that they're in together, it's like real brothers. They hate each other. They love each other. They hate each other. They love each other. I'll forgive you. I hate you. So it's like it's cool to see that realistic standpoint between them. And let me see. What else did I write here? I got a bunch of notes here. Yeah, that's basically what it is. I mean, with Thor being my favorite Avenger, it's like it kind of sucks to see because I think the first two movies it was kind of lackluster, and Chris Hemsworth even admitted to being bored playing Thor until Ragnarok came around and Taika Waititi and all that. So it's good to see he kind of bounced back, but yeah, it's not a good movie. Next one is Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'll do the positives first in this movie. So I'll talk about Scott calling Steve Cap. This is just hilarious to me because he wants to just be cool, but he's just like this older dad, and he's kind of like, yeah, Cap. So it's kind of funny to see. And Scott, when he was in the daughter's school, he was running the hallway. That scene where his suit wasn't working, he was like half man and half ant, so he's like kind of like this kid. So that was funny. But the plot holes with the whole shrinking car and the building, it just didn't make sense to me in terms of like, the plumbing in the building. Maybe I'm just being too picky and stupid or whatever, but I thought that was just silly. And the car thing, it's like, why not just shrink down and hide until they leave and then go while you're still shrunk? And then the whole time travel thing, it's 5 hours in Endgame when Scott Lang was in it, but when he came out, it was really 5 years. But then when Hank Pym's wife was in it, it was like just real time, and she actually aged and all that. Maybe I'm missing some type of thing, but I tried to look it up and I couldn't understand it or whatever. But oh well. Yeah. So it was kind of like a mediocre movie for me as well. Next one is Captain Marvel. I thought it was they just set it up for failure. Honestly, it was like it came out in between Infinity War and Endgame, and then they put her in Endgame, and just felt too forced. And like all these other Avengers were, or at least most of them were built up over, years of films and all that, and they just kind of threw it in the last second and didn't really all make sense. So I think and just the movie was just kind of boring and lackluster. And Nick Fury losing his eye to a cat, it rubbed me the wrong way. I'm like, it couldn't be more symbolic, like fighting a villain or something like that. It was just a dumb cat. Yeah, the Tesseract, whatever. Next movie, Iron Man 3. So all the suits coming in one piece for Tony, but the Mark 42 in this movie, why would it be any different? That's just my question that I had. I mean, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe he was trying something out new, trying something out that was different or something like that. But I don't know. It just makes sense. And then the whole actor with the Mandarin and the fire inside their body. I don't know. It was just stupid to me, and it just didn't. Once Tony came in that room and found out that he was just an actor, I was just like, come on, really, dude? Like, it was like, I don't know. I think they did him wrong in the movie, but and there's another scene where Tony has a cut on his eye, and then they cut away and it's gone, and they cut back and it's there. So it's like they probably missed that in post production, but I just something picky that I found out. Next movie is Doctor Strange. It was cool to see the Ancient One bring something out of Doctor Strange that he didn't know he had and that he needed, which is all these powers and all that. And all he wanted to do was just heal up so he can go heal up his hand so he can go back to surgery. But he became much greater than that in Doctor Strange. This movie reminded me of like this movie Oculus that came out in 2013, 2014. It was just like, just messing with your brain and your reality. And literally I was in the movie watching it with my friends. And I just stepped out for like 20 minutes because I was just getting lost because it was like what you see is not really what's there, and what's there is not really what you perceive. And it's just like, it was like you're on psychedelic drugs. I've never done it, but like I just felt like I was just being messed with my brain. So I didn't like that part of it. The first Thor is the next one. I just didn't like let me see, where's my notes on it? Yeah, the bleached eyebrows just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Like it was just blatantly obvious that it was just bleached, and it was kind of weird looking to me. But yeah, you can tell like the first two Thor films, it was like Thor, and then from Ragnarok on, it was like just kind of Chris Hemsworth with a hammer, which is not bad. But I'm saying like in terms of like facials, like the hair and all that, it was like way different look, and you could tell it's Chris Hemsworth. But I thought it was a decent introduction to Thor. Some things didn't make sense, like the Loki's human, like he looks human even though he's a frost giant. So that's what I just kind of didn't really like. I know he's able to, what's that called? Adapt somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like he switches. I don't know, but it was just kind of confusing to me in terms of that. And then it was just kind of predictable in how he's going to get his powers back. And, with Thor and Captain America, the first Avenger, it was predictable. It was a good introduction, but it was just kind of unexciting at points, and I don't know, maybe even a little bit corny. But I think it was a decent introduction. Thor's my favorite Avenger. So, all right, next movie. Let me see here. I'll say The Incredible Hulk. I think it's a good representation of how after he becomes a Hulk, he's like hungover, he's like ill, he's like depressed, he's like physically just like throwing up. So it's like, it was really cool to see how after he becomes a Hulk, he's all this stuff. And Mark Ruffalo's interpretation, besides Age of Ultron, where Wanda messes with his brain, they don't really show like after how he is affected by becoming the Hulk and then not going back to Bruce Banner. So it's cool to see that. Let me see. I have really nothing bad to say about the film. I mean, I know CGI and the mocap and all that got a lot better over the years, but I think it doesn't get as enough recognition in terms of being a good comic book movie. All right, the next one, it was Guardians of the Galaxy. Maybe the first one. So I'm not really too big in unrealistic movies like this. It's just kind of not my thing. Like I don't like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter. It's just too, fictional or unfictional, whichever one's not real. I forgot. But yeah, I'm just not too big on it. But it was cool to see how they connected in the Infinity Stones. It was great comedy. Groot and Rocket are amazing. Those two characters. And when people say Marvel or the MCU doesn't take any chances, it's like they made a movie with a talking tree or a tree and or a living tree and a talking raccoon or rabbit or Build-A-Bear, whatever characters say Rocket is. Chris Pratt kills it. I love him. It exceeded my expectations because I don't really have any, but I did end up liking it at the end. I thought it was a pretty decent movie. I do like the second one better because I thought it was more at stake and you got to see. Well, I'll talk about that once I get to it. So the next one, it would be, let me see. Yeah, the second Iron Man. Probably one of the best intros to a sequel is AC/DC, Shoot to Thrill. That's on my gym playlist right now. But he jumps off the plane and just got me pumped up. Black Widow's introduced. Scarlett Johansson is beautiful. Jon Favreau, he's a great director, great guy, good actor. We all know Tony and Pepper would end up hooking up, and Whiplash and Iron Man try to live up to their father's hype. So it's kind of cool to see that. A mosquito in here? To see their comparison of how they're like trying to do that. So it was really cool to see. Iron Man 2, I think not a lot of people like it, but it's one of my, not my favorite, but I think it's huge. I definitely like it way more than most people do. Let me see. So Captain America, the First Avenger, this is a surprisingly good CGI because Chris Evans and the actor that plays Before the Serum, they're way different body types. So it's like, you could tell, like, obviously it's not him, but like, it's really good. I hope that thing doesn't bite me. That thing is. But I love the shield shadowing. His line, "I can do this all day," was born. And just like the line when he was talking to, wait, let me see. Yeah, when he was talking to the doctor on the bed, like kind of like the day before the serum he's going to get put in him. He's just like, he's basically asking him, what's he's about and why he wants to do this. And Steve Rogers just kind of takes a moment. He goes, "I don't like bullies." Just like, that just gave me so much goosebumps. And like, he's such a little dude, but he's got a heart of a lion and he's really to fight anybody. And like that he definitely, in terms of character arc, became one of my favorite Avengers because, he's Captain America. And then just like, no matter what happens, he just kind of like stays the course and he's always a good guy and he does the right thing and this and that. So it was not a predictable introduction, but it was a good introduction to get him going. And obviously Winter Soldier was a beast in the movie Winter Soldier. But yeah, lots of things in this film will be callbacks in the newer MCU films. I love the scene when Cap was chasing the Hydra guy, in the river. Just before that, a kid falls in the water and Cap goes to save him. And this is when, in most movies, you think, oh, he's gonna let the bad guy go because he does the greater good and helps this little kid. But the kid goes, "I can swim, go get him." It's like, that's such a cool, like, specific detail I noticed because it's like, it would just kind of ruin the movie at that point. But he's like, "No, I can swim, go." It's like, everybody knows how to swim and tread water. Like, so it was really cool to see because most movies, I feel like, they kind of just, he helps a kid, saves a kid, but he got the bad guy let the bad guy get away, and then he's gonna find him later, I guess. But it was really cool to see that. Very, very refreshing, I would say. So yeah, the first Avenger was a solid movie. Let me see what next is here. So yeah, Ant-Man. This movie, I didn't expect nothing from it just because of it. Just because it's like going into it, I was just like, oh, it's an ant guy. It's Paul Rudd's amazing, but whatever. So I watched it and it was surprisingly good. It's such a great, funny introduction to Ant-Man. Paul Rudd's awesome, like I said. Yellow Jacket's got a really cool suit. And Ant-Man did the Black Widow which was cool. You know, like the scissor and like takes her legs, and it was really cool to see. But yeah, this movie blew me out of the water just because like I didn't have any expectations for it, and I was like, all right, I'll watch it, and then it became such a greater movie than I thought. So that was really cool to see. Let me see. Yeah, number 11 would be Age of Ultron. So let me find my notes here. So one of the things that popped out first was Robert California, James Spader, for my Office fans out there. Captain was lifting Mjolnir was cool, and obviously the Russo brothers stated that he could have lifted, but he didn't want anybody to know that he could. And then obviously in Endgame he did. So this film shows their chemistry. Like when first Ultron comes out in the living room, they just go like this: "Oh, throw me your shield, hammer," and boom, boom, and they just like you see from the first Avengers to Age of Ultron how much they knew how to click with one another, and it was like a team, and it was more chemistry. And the first Avengers, it was kind of like towards the end of the movie they got that going, but especially at first they were rocky, especially Tony and Cap. But I actually like Age of Ultron a lot. In Hawkeye's house scene when he's got the secret farm with the secret family, American Captain America realizes that he might not ever be able to have this life when he steps out of the front door and looks back and kind of just looks in and then walks away. I didn't catch that at first, but I think I watched some YouTube channel or watched it again and I caught that, and later on I realized, I'm like, oh dang, he realizes he can't have this really, he doesn't have the life for it, So it was cool to see that, perspective the second time. I love Vision in this. Paul Bettany's voice is like, it's so soothing. It's like a audio recording, like from a book, like a, whatever it's called. I don't read books, but like audio tape. So it's like really cool. Such a cool voice. I know Vision is super powerful in Age of Ultron. And Infinity War on, obviously wasn't, he wasn't in Endgame, but Infinity War, he was just kind of weak and whatever. But I love Hawkeye's speech when he was talking to Wanda. He's like, I got arrows. There's robots coming around. None of this makes sense, and kind of gave Wanda like the pep talk, like, you better get this going. You're one of the powerful. In my opinion, she's the most powerful Avenger. But in this movie, they kind of, slowed her role up until that moment, and then once you get a speech, she comes out and just that score of like, it was like really cool. Let me see. Iron Man, Vision, and Thor using their powers against Ultron kind of felt like Pokemon in the sense of like, I don't know, just like Charmander, Squirtle, and Bulbasaur, and maybe Pikachu just all like, just going nuts with it. So the kid in me was like, that is sweet, So it kind of felt like a Pokemon battle in that sense, just in terms of like powers, all three of them. The only thing that really like I didn't like was the corny Thor line when he was fighting Ultron. Ultron's got like his head down towards the end of the movie, and he's like, I can't think of anything else or whatever he says, and it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And this is like something that I don't really like in the MCU is like their comedy is almost too much and too forced. And I understand they have like a lot of young audience. They need to have this like, oh, it's funny, and maybe it lightens the fight situation. But in terms of my liking, it was just kind of like there's a time to be funny and time not to be funny. When you're fighting that serious, it's like it should be life or death. It shouldn't be like, oh, it's like if you're fighting somebody to life or death, it's not going to be jokes and giggles. You're going to be pissed off. You're going to be stressed out. You're going to be scared. It's like all those big three. Next movie, let me see. So yeah, I'll save the top 10 for a different video. I'm only going to do 10 to 23 like I said. So put this out and I'll record the next one and get that going. So yeah, part 2 comes soon.